What's going on, everybody? Jake here. Just wanted to do a quick little study with you today, and wherever you're watching from. I hope that this encourages you, and I hope that this ministers to you. I was reading in Philemon the other day, and I've never really thought about this a whole lot. I've never really put a lot of thought into it. I mean, how many times have we read this chapter, this book, those kinds of things? And it's really interesting because, as you kind of look into it, what you're really reading is a great story of redemption. You're really reading a great story of redemption and how God sees things through the eyes, actually through the acts of Paul in this time. So give you just a little bit of historical context here of this chapter. Paul is writing to Philemon because he was a co-worker with him, and actually Philemon had a house church that he was pastoring at this time. And there was a gentleman there by the name of Onesimus. Now, Onesimus was a servant to Philemon, and Philemon, some things went down, okay? So just to put it in layman's terms here, Onesimus stole some stuff from him, did him wrong. So this was a servant of Philemon, okay? So Onesimus basically stole some stuff, did some shady things, did some things against Philemon. And at this time, Onesimus wasn't a believer. He wasn't saved. He didn't know who Christ was, maybe heard about him, knew about Paul, was in the environment because during that time things were really moving. And obviously Philemon had a house church at that time. And but he was just basically one of your laymen, okay, like just one of the people who would serve traditionally and serve not at the church, but be a servant, okay, to Philemon, okay, work around the house, work around the farm, those kinds of things, and do basically what a servant would do during this time. So, but because of this, of what took place and what happened, Onesimus actually got kicked out, okay, so he left and he actually went to go visit Paul. While he was in Rome, and Paul was in prison at the time. So Onesimus went to Paul in prison and started beginning to have conversations with him and talks with him about, the Lord, talking with him about Jesus. And so, long story short, this is where it gets really, really great. Long story short, that Onesimus finally became a believer. Paul led him to the Lord, okay? And then Paul discipled him, mentored him, discipled him, and walked with him in this journey. Now, this is where the redemption part comes in. So Philemon, this first chapter in Philemon, Paul is actually going back and writing back to them saying, hey, look, I've got your servant, okay? I've got your servant, Onesimus, and he has done some things against you. Like, he's admitted to it. He's done some things that have not been great to you. And but I want to send them back to you. So this is where it gets really great. Paul is saying, I want to send them back to you. And Paul even says in the chapter, now he could be, he might have been useless to you, but he definitely is useful, all right, to me. And so Paul's saying, I want to keep him, but because I feel like this is right, I want to send him back to you so he can begin to serve again, but not this time as someone who would be basically like just a servant there working in the yard, working in the farm, those kinds of things, picking crops, those kinds of things. I want to send him back to you to help you with the church and to help you with your house church. Now, here's a couple of cool little tidbits here. Onesimus, that name literally means in the Greek useful. And Paul uses this here in chapter 1. In verse 11, he says, formerly he was useless to you, but now he is indeed useful to you and to me. And Paul's play on words there is really great because what Onesimus was, he was useless, but because of the redemption that Jesus gave into his life, he now becomes useful. And that's what his name literally means. Again, Paul is talking straight to the person of who they are, who God sees them, who Christ sees them, rather than what other people or other labels have been put on him. He says, this is who Onesimus is. Not who he was, but this is who he is. And then later on in the chapter, which is really great about this, Paul begins to say to Philemon, he says, hey, look, Philemon, when he comes back to you, if he owes you anything, okay, if he owes you money because of what he stole, if he owes you something because of what took place, what I want to do is I want you to put it on my tab. I'll pay for it. Okay, I'll pay for it. But I want him to be useful to you in other ways rather than what he was doing. I want him to be useful to you because of what Christ has done in his life. And Paul says, look, I'll take on the tab. I'll pay for it. I'll be the one to pay the price, if you will, for the things that he's done wrong. Put it on my tab. Now, here's the redemption part. Onesimus goes back, helps Philemon out, and now they have a growing house church, during this time. Now, here's the great thing. It's just like Jesus to do this for us. When we were once lost, when we were lost, we did things that were wrong. We did things against Christ. We did things that were bad. We did things that we stole. We lied. We cheated. We turned our back against God. But God loved the world that he gave his only son for us. And so what he did was he said, hey, look, everything that is done bad, I put it on my tab. And this is such a great story of the redemption of the cross and the great story of the redemption of Jesus, because like this story, Jesus still wants to use you. And you might be thinking to yourself, gosh, I'm not really that great, or I'm not really called, or I'm not really, I'm somebody who's done wrong, or I'm somebody who's been addicted, or I'm somebody who has done bad things, or I've done stuff that why would God even want me? I'm here to tell you right now that like Paul says, put it on my tab, Jesus put it on his tab. He paid the price and the ultimate sacrifice for you. And what he's doing is now that you're redeemed, he wants to send you back into the world, because you're no longer useless as you once thought that you were. You are actually useful in the kingdom of God. And I love this story. And so many people like to bypass this because it's a short chapter in the New Testament, but God sees this as a redemption story for you and for me, to say, we once were this. I once was blind, but now I see. Yeah, it might have taken you a journey. Yes, it might have taken you someplace. And I'm here to tell you right now, if you're listening to this and you don't know that you have a purpose for your life, and you don't know that you've got a plan, the Bible clearly states it for you. He knows the plans that he has for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, give you a hope in a future. Just because things have gone on in your life that have not added up, just because things have gone on in your life that have not, that maybe have taken a detour of the way you thought they were going to be, you're still useful because of what Jesus Christ did for you on the cross, what he did for me on the cross, what he did for us on the cross. He picked up the tab for our sin, and he paid the ultimate price for you and I, so that way we can be involved in the kingdom advancement, in the kingdom work that he has prepared for us to do. So I just want to encourage you today in this quick little Bible study here in Philemon, okay, in the story of Onesimus here in just chapter 1. Now, this whole book here is rich of the redemption story, of how things work, of how things move forward. So I want to encourage you today to pick up Philemon, read it for yourself. But I want you to know that no matter what has gone on in your life, your past does not define you, and your past does not dictate your future. Only Jesus is the one that defines you, and he is the one that, if we come into alignment with him, he's the one that actually sets up the steps for us, plans to prosper us and give us a hope and a future. Love you guys. Take care. I hope you enjoyed this today, and we'll see you again here for another quick little Bible study at the lake.